You are sitting inside a race shop that suddenly feels colder than it did an hour ago. The race is over, the lights are still on, and the man whose name is stitched across your car, the man who signs off on every strategy call and every hard decision your team makes, has just told the entire world, on his own podcast, that you were wrong. Not a rival driver, not a television commentator, your own team owner. The wound isn't the spin through the grass. The wound isn't the penalty on the scoring sheet. The wound is that the verdict came from inside the building, from the one person who was supposed to be in your corner no matter what. Before any names get attached to this story, understand the setting first. This wasn't an ordinary Sunday afternoon. This was the Quaker State 400 at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta, run on July 13, 2026, a race pushed past midnight by a rain and lightning delay that stretched more than 3 hours. Going into that night, Bubba Wallace sat 12th in the playoff standings, 83 points above the cut line, comfortable on paper but with the postseason window narrowing with every race left on the calendar. Superspeedway racing carries an unwritten law that every driver in that garage understands without being told twice. Manufacturer teammates protect each other on the racetrack. Toyota drivers push Toyota drivers toward the front. That code was about to break in front of a national television audience, and by the time the sun came up, so was the trust inside Wallace's own race team. If you're already surprised that a team owner would publicly side against his own driver, this is exactly the kind of story worth staying for, because what happens next is worse than it sounds on the surface. NASCAR Trackline TV is closing in on 500 subscribers, and if breakdowns like this one, built entirely on facts and direct quotes instead of speculation, are the kind of racing content you want more of in your feed, hitting subscribe right now means you won't miss what comes next, because this fallout is still unfolding inside the 23XI racing shop. Late in Stage 2, Wallace was running 6th and defended his position by moving down to the inner line against a fast-closing Ty Gibbs, driver of the number 54 for Joe Gibbs Racing. The closing speed was too high for the gap that existed, Gibbs had nowhere left to go, and the contact sent Wallace's car spinning through the infield grass, erasing his stage points in an instant. Remember that hit carefully, because by morning it becomes the exact excuse Ty Gibbs leans on, and the same moment Denny Hamlin conveniently chooses to forgive when the cameras turn toward him. The far bigger blow landed on the white flag lap, with the race and the points on the line. Wallace was running third at that moment, sitting directly behind Carson Hocevar and Ryan Blaney, went 3 wide down the backstretch, and dipped below the double yellow line while trying to hold his spot. Under Rule 8, 7.2a, advancing your position below the yellow line at a superspeedway results in an automatic penalty, no matter the circumstances that forced the move. NASCAR ruled that Wallace had violated it, dropping him from 2nd all the way down to 29th and wiping out 27 championship points in a single ruling. Wallace defended himself on record afterward. He said, "I was off the gas. I was on the brakes." He insisted he never advanced his position on the track, adding that his car sucked back rather than pushed forward. The irony sits heavy once you line up both incidents side by side. Telemetry reportedly showed Wallace braking hard to hand the position back voluntarily, while it was Ty Gibbs' push from behind, the same contact from Stage 2, that had shoved him level with the leaders in the first place. 2 separate incidents. One driver, one brutal, momentum-shattering night. The garage didn't stay quiet once the race finally ended near 2 in the morning. On pit road, Wallace confronted Gibbs directly, later explaining publicly that there was an opportunity to give the position back, and that Gibbs simply didn't take it. Wallace went further than a single driver dispute, turning one on-track wreck into a manufacturer-wide storyline by suggesting that Toyota teammates across the board simply weren't racing well together anymore. Gibbs pushed back just as hard, saying he went over to apologize after the race and instead felt disrespected by how the conversation unfolded, insisting he was only trying to help push Wallace toward the win before the contact happened. Wallace's tone throughout stayed pointed and accusatory. Gibbs sounded defensive, almost wounded. The room inside that garage was already split cleanly in 2 before Denny Hamlin ever said a single word publicly. And that split is exactly where this story becomes something bigger than a pit road disagreement between 2 drivers. Denny Hamlin holds an impossible dual role, He is co-owner of 23XI Racing, which makes him Bubba Wallace's direct boss. He is also a full-time driver for Joe Gibbs Racing, which makes him Ty Gibbs' teammate inside a completely different building. Whichever side he chose to back publicly, someone under his own roof was always going to walk away feeling betrayed. He picked a side anyway. He did it publicly, on his own podcast, Actions Detrimental. And the side he picked wasn't his own driver. Here is exactly what he said, in his own words, without anything softened or reworded. Hamlin laid out his personal blocking philosophy first, explaining that a block is considered fair racing as late as it needs to be thrown, as long as it doesn't force the trailing car to check up suddenly and lose momentum. Then came the verdict that stung the most for Wallace supporters watching. Hamlin said that asking Ty Gibbs to check up behind Wallace in that specific moment was not a reasonable ask of anyone. That is a team owner, on the record, telling the entire world that his own driver's defense of the incident simply didn't hold up under scrutiny. Now here's exactly where the line needs to be drawn carefully between confirmed fact and pure interpretation. Because what comes next is analysis, not an official statement released by 23XI Racing. Hamlin didn't hand Ty Gibbs a completely free pass either. He also publicly criticized his own full-time teammate Tyler Reddick for a nearly identical blocking move during that same race weekend, which suggests this wasn't pure favoritism toward Gibbs, but something closer to a consistent rules-first standard Hamlin is applying evenly across the board. Still, the question worth sitting with as a fan is this one. Is this genuine rules-first leadership from Hamlin, regardless of who it costs him personally, or is this calculated public distancing ahead of tense playoff politics, where being seen as fair to the field matters more than protecting one driver under his own ownership? Nobody outside that private room knows the true answer for certain. What is certain, however, is the damage already done to the standings. Wallace fell from 12th down to 13th in the points, now sitting roughly 55 points above the cut line instead of 83. William Byron leapfrogged him completely in the process. Right behind Wallace in the current standings sit Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Eric Jones, all bunched close enough together that one more difficult weekend changes the entire playoff picture heading into the fall. This also isn't the first time Hamlin and Wallace have clashed publicly in front of cameras. There's the earlier middle finger incident between the two men on track, followed immediately by Hamlin's blunt public response, telling Wallace to "give me a break" in front of reporters. There was also visible friction between Wallace and Christopher Bell during a completely separate on-track incident earlier in the season. Put all three moments together and this stops looking like an isolated flashpoint from one chaotic Atlanta night. It starts looking like an established pattern, where a team owner and his own driver keep ending up on opposite sides of the same argument. In public, on the record, with absolutely no resolution offered by either side afterward. So here's the real question, heading straight into the comment section below this video. Was Denny Hamlin right to hold his own driver publicly accountable on his podcast, even at the cost of team unity heading into the playoffs? Or should a team owner always back his own driver, no matter what the telemetry and the rulebook actually show? Team Wallace or Team Hamlin? That's the divide right now. And there's no clean, comfortable answer being offered by either side of the 23XI Racing building. The tension doesn't get any chance to cool off before the next green flag either. North Wilkesboro is up this Sunday, with Daytona looming right behind it on the schedule. Two tracks where Wallace and Ty Gibbs will be forced to draft together again at nearly 200 miles an hour, with zero trust left between them after everything that was said this weekend. If this breakdown pulled you deeper into understanding what's really happening right now inside 23XI Racing, drop your honest take in the comments below. Team Wallace or Team Hamlin? Team Hamlin. And share this video with another NASCAR fan who needs to see exactly what was said and by whom. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.